end of the Ois on the 8th page of the Mimer, page Yud Beis. Even though we stopped at the second paragraph on line 21, we're going to go over from line 11. And we were talking about that Adam Rishon was created b'tzalmeinu kidmusenu. Tselem, that means something that is an image, something that is only a picture, and demus. I'm sorry, tselem. Demus is only like a picture, and tselem is a full form, like a sculpture. And we say that the creation of the world, that the world was created, yesh me'ayin, since even though a person can contemplate to figure out that there is someone that created the world, but since this is something that's done intellectually, it is not something that has the validity and power of sight and vision. Therefore, it's only kidmusenu, it's only a likeness, it's only like koi amar Hashem, that all the Nevi'im said. But we're going to talk about what came along when Adam Rishon was created, was the level of tselem. Tselem is a form of the thing itself, which is a lot more powerful. That's what we're going to speak about now at line 11. On the 6th day of creation. Adam was the creation of Adam Rishon. He said, all the Nevroim, come, let us bow down and kneel before Hashem our God. He affected the entire creation, the idea of zeh, like we said, something that's openly revealed godliness, instead of the way it was before, that we just had the creation of the world and you have to think and figure out that there's Hashem that created the world. Instead, by Adam Rishon's avodah, on the first day of creation, he made the level of zeh. And in his footsteps, in the footsteps of Adam Rishon that was created on the 6th day of creation, the day that we mark Rosh Hashanah, this is also the general avodah of the Yidden. Where do we see this revealed? This became revealed through Moshe Rabbeinu. That's why Moshe Rabbeinu, who is the Rebbe of all the Yidden, who is the Nasi of the whole Yidden, he said, Zeh hadavar. Zeh meaning this, it's open, it's revealed godliness. Because Moshe Rabbeinu manifested what the Yidden had gotten from Adam Rishon, this capability of revealing godliness. It says in line 17, that the Yidden affect on the day of Rosh Hashanah, which is the day of the creation of Adam Rishon, as opposed to Chaf Eyel. Yom HaShishi is the 6th day of creation, which is Bechinas HaYesod. We know every single one of the Midas was responsible for a different day of creation. Oir was created on the first day, which is Chesed. Gvura, the second day, was responsible for the splitting and the vision of the Rakia, the Mayim Elyonim, Mayim Tachtonim, etc. The 6th day of creation is the level of Yesod. The level of Yesod is the foundational level, but also it's the level that shows on revealing into the world, on drawing down from higher than Seder Ishtalshlus into Seder Ishtalshlus. Yesod is the level of Chibur, of joining of man and woman, the level of Mashpia Makabel, of Soiv and Malakalam, all that is hinted in Yesod. What does that mean? You're saying koi, but not koi itself, but you're bringing koi to the level of lechoi, to the higher level, the level of chai, which has to do with the level of zah. That has to do, b'martim koi lechoyos, has to do with the connection between malchus, which has to do with koi, and chai, which is the chayim, which is higher than malchus, which is zah and yesod and so on. The idea of Rosh Hashanah, the idea of Moshe Rabbeinu and the Yidden and Adam Rishon is to draw down zeh in the entire creation. The creation on its own, if not for Adam Rishon and Klal Yisrael, Moshe Rabbeinu, and so on, would be only in the level of Koi, only in the level of Kid Museinu. It's only in our likeness. It's not something that is revealed godliness. Our job is to bring that about. So, if you remember, we began that Adam Rishon encompasses two levels: Bitzalmeinu and Kid Museinu. The Rebbe is going to ask, if you have Bitzalmeinu, if you have the level of Zeh, why do you need to have the level of Koi? And perhaps by extension, we could also say this also by Moshe Rabbeinu. Moshe Rabbeinu, it's brought down that he also had the level of Zeh, but it's not that he didn't have the level of Koi as well. So the question is, why do we need to have, the Rebbe is going to ask over here, not just Tzalmeinu, which seems to be the higher level, the level of Gilui Elokus, but we also need to have Kid Museinu. So he says in line 21, so that Adam, meaning Yidden Bechlal, should be able to affect this in the entire creation, that the entire creation should reach a level of Zeh, beyond the way they were created in the level of Koi. The way Adam Rishon had to be created was in both levels, Tzalmeinu and Kid Museinu. The intention and purpose. Why was Adam Rishon, who was the entire purpose or reason for creation, why was he created the last thing, Dafke, in the whole creation? Seemingly, if he's the most important, he's the most valuable, he has the level of Zeh, he should have preceded everything else. So the reason is, he says in line 25, so that he should elevate the entire actions of creation until we reach a level of creation that there's nothing higher than the creation, that there's nothing higher than what it could be reached. So its purpose is to elevate the low level of creation to the most highest level possible. So how does one do that? For this, it's insufficient that Adam Rishon should only have the level of Tzalmeinu, only the level of Zeh, the revelation of godliness. He doesn't have the perspective of the world of Koi and Kid Museinu. Because because then Adam Rishon will be completely outside of creation. He won't have any connection with the creation. Top of page Yud Gimel. Therefore, it had to be by him also the level of Kid Museinu. That has to be in our likeness. In other words, he has to have also the level of Koi in him. So that he should be able to have a connection with the creation, so he should be able to have control, to be able to influence the creation. This is very similar to what the Rebbe said earlier about Nasa Adam Tzalmeinu Kid Museinu. Why does it say we shall make the Adam? Because when Adam Rishon is made up from all the parts of creation, Nasa is talking about all the koiches and all the Seder Ishtalshlos, so then it's possible for him to be v'chivshua, it's possible for him to elevate it. The same thing by having the Kid Museinu, then he can elevate them to a level of Tzalmeinu. So now the Rebbe adds, the way Adam Rishon influences the creation is not in a way of by force. He's not coercing it. So he says in the brackets, line 3, not just in a way that he rules over them by force, but similar to what it says about the Yidden themselves. Even though here we're talking about Adam Rishon's influence on the entire creation, but this is the way he's supposed to influence the creation is similar to where the Yidden's connection with the Eibishter is. What does it say about the Yidden? That his kingship, the Yidden accepted willingly. So then this also is affected in the entire creation. But Dugmas Hamaim the Matz of the law said Lovay that Yidden affecting creation and other Mauritians affecting creation is similar to the state and situation of Mashiach's times. Madrash Razal, like it's explained in Madrash Chazal, Shabriya Atzma Tachriz V'Titzak Shabbos Hayoim, that the creation itself will cry out when a person wants to pick a fruit from a tree. It says the tree itself will scream, Shabbos! 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 Don't touch! Because of that, there has to be an appropriate way of acting, since it's Shabbos, following the laws of Shabbos, not to pick fruits from the tree. So in a similar vein, Adamarishan and our effect on the creation has to be that creation itself should willingly go along with this transformation and elevation. And that is necessary only when you have it Salmeinu Kid Museinu. So he says in line 10, Vaydez Shabriya Adam, he Salmeinu Kid Museinu, through the creation of Adam, being both in the Tselem and the Dmuz, in the form and in the image. It's not just he has both as separate things. Both of these became joined. They became one creation. Adam, which is one creation, encompasses and was made of both Tzalmeinu and Kidmuseinu. So a person is possible to be the intermediary to effect that there should be the joining of the creation, which is symbolized by the idea of Kidmuseinu. Is Baruch with Hashem's very essence, because he has them both together within him, so he can elevate the creation to become one with Hashem as well. In such a way that not only will Havaya be one, but also his name, in other words, his revelations, and the world will be one with him. All the Mailam is then even higher than Havaya Echad and Shmoy Echad, that Einoid Mulvadei, that there's nothing besides the Eibishter. Va'ad, and to such a degree he affects in creation. Lamevur, Betanya, to what's explained in Tanya, there is no difference between before and prior to creation and after creation. That's the way it is, truly. Even before Adam Rishon comes and does that, and even before the Yidden accomplish that, the truth is that there really is no difference. You are the same before the world was created, and you're the same after. The problem is, it's not evident, it's not visible. But there's a need to reveal this in the creation down here below. That's the ultimate purpose of the service of a person. Beginning from Adam Rishon, that he has to do this, and similarly every single Yid, a person has to say, for me the world was created. That's why a person was created alone, not a bunch of people at once, because he has to say, it's all dependent upon me. Therefore, in his avoid has to be both components. This means he has to bring himself to the most highest level that he could reach in the form of the Eibishter. To draw this down and to influence this also in his allotted portion in the world and in the entire world, it should be like my image to that level, to elevate it together with him. To such a degree that even while being here in this low world, there's nothing beneath it, should be a home for the Eibishter. Like to explain concerning a home, someone that lives in a home, he's there as his entire being with no limitations. He doesn't have to be even clothed, but he can be there as he is without any concealments. The Inyans and this the Yidden effect down here below. Let's learn one small paragraph on the next page. This is the general advantage of Rosh Hashanah over the 25th of El. Though the entire world was created and the whole Seder Ishtalshus was created from nothing to something on the 25th of Elul, like we said, that the luminary is revealed in the fact that create Yesh Ma'ayin comes only from Hashem's essence. Because only when you're dealing with such a low thing that thinks it came from itself, you see the idea that this could only be created by something that has no prior cause. Still no in regards to understanding and comprehending Hashem, it's only in a way of an image. How was the creation actually taking place? That Hashem is actually lepoil, concealed from the creation. That's the uniqueness of Rosh Hashanah, the sixth day of creation. Then was also the idea, not just B'Tzalmeinu, but also Kid Museinu, because the purpose of a man and his mission is to make a home for the Eibusha down here below. The joining between Hashem's very essence with the Metzias HaTachtonim in a way of a home. And the Nekuda the Rebbe is going to speak later, I think we're going to continue after Rosh Hashanah, unless we can learn a little bit on Monday, is going to be how a person first does it in his own self, in his miniature world, which is himself, and by that he influences and affects the world.